And happy Sunday. This is Stevelocity here, and I'm getting so much feedback on the pallet ripper that I decided to go ahead and finish it this weekend. I was going to work on another project, but basically I can see that this is what people are really interested in seeing. So I've also been getting comments at work, and one of the comments that I've been getting at work from a couple of people is that I should patent this. Well, technically there are so many versions of this pallet ripper, pallet buster, pallet prier, these kind of tools that are out there. They're made mostly of metal, but like Izzy Swan, he went ahead and made a really good pallet ripper, buster tool that is actually a really good design, and you use your foot to actually break it. I'm beginning to see that the tool that I'm building is one to where I can actually work a little slower and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and run with this, and let me explain real quick exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'll show you my tools. So right here, see if I can do that. You can see the other board. I'm going to go ahead and extend this to 36 inches. So I'm going to gain about 6 inches. I don't want to go too far above that, and I'll explain why here in a second. Then what I've got is my Sureform tool, because I'm going to try to quickly knock some edges and round out the handle a little bit, not too much. And then right next to that are my two files. One is a little bit rougher smoothing file, and the other is a very fine file. So I'm going to try to actually do that without a lot of sandpaper. Now I'm probably going to once I get that done, I'm going to sandpaper over it, simply because the areas where I'm not filing, I'm going to need to clean them up as far as that goes. So I've just got some nut and bolt stock there that I picked up. I was on Craigslist, and this guy was selling $10 worth of hardware. And let me just kind of look over here on my bench. You can see all those blue containers right there. Let me kind of zoom in. Okay, that is full of nut, bolt, screw stock that will last me for the next 10 years. And what it interested me is that I had actually gotten, you can see these bolts right here. The one on the far right is a pipe, and I thought I might be able to use that in this build. And there were some lag nuts, or bolts, I mean, with the locking washers or lock washers and the nuts. And I thought, you know what, that is going to be a little bit stronger, I think. Now, I had pieced that together before just to see how it worked, and these are really, really small, what I would have considered to be flimsy screws, and they held out pretty good. So I think that what I'm going to do now is going to be an improved design. So with that, then on the left, there's another one of those brackets. I'm going to use that on and I'll explain that here in a minute too. And then of course a couple of wrenches. I'm going to use my drill with some drill bits, and this right here, Tight Bond, the original. This is for indoor glue use, wood glue usage. I wanted to try something different, and I know a lot of people really rely on Tight Bond 1, 2, and 3 for their different projects. Matter of fact, that's my go-to glue. I just couldn't find it, and that's why I bought the Gorilla Glue, which is good for outdoor projects. But as you can see, sanding that down and then not having residual is really, really difficult with the Gorilla Glue. So I'm going to try the Tight Bond out. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom back a little bit. Okay, and a couple of the design flaws on the second prototype, which I talked about before. Let me just go ahead and do this. I guess they just need improvement. Now you can get a pretty good look at the bottom of this pry tool, and you can see right here where, I mean, it basically took a beating, right? And so I need to reinforce that a little bit. And the bigger bolts obviously are going to go here. I'm going to extend, sorry about that, I'm going to extend this probably about 2, maybe 3 inches, but at least 2 inches. So I'm going to remake these out of 3/4 inch plywood. Okay, and let's see here. I do believe I had glued these together, which made them stronger with the Gorilla Glue. And I'm going to use the same bracket material. The real strength of the design here is this and this. This is really not effectively doing anything except maybe tying this all together and strengthening the handle a little bit. But that's going to end up getting moved, I believe. And the way I'm going to do it is still going to add some strength to the handle. And then I'm going to do something here. You notice with the stock. Now, I'm really going to prove the concept of this design here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. You can see I've already made the marks right there. And this stock had been sitting outside under a tarp for approximately 3 months. And I was trying to preserve it, but the humidity during the summer finally got to it, and it began to twist and bow. So this is the best stock of this that I have, and I think that the concept is that it sat outside in the humidity. It got seasoned a little bit. It worked and twisted just a little bit. I still think that this piece is, I have something I can work with it. But then it sat here in the garage, and I climatized it for another 3 weeks as far as that goes. So it's obvious to me that the weakness in this design is this particular handle. Okay. Now this my original prototype 2 had actually been part of that same stock, and you see how it did. So we're going to go ahead and make these improvements, and then we'll see how she does. Let's see. So I talked about the improvements. All right, let me go ahead and get set up with a different angle, and we'll start to do this. Okay, so I've got the prototype 2 taken apart, and as you can look at the tools and the hardware, first thing that you notice here is look at the abuse that those flimsy screws took. I didn't think they were that strong, and I guess it's been proven they're not. Those could have broke at any time. Matter of fact, if you look at them, let's see if I can look at that. I mean, they took some incredible abuse, and they still held. So whenever I put the bigger bolts in, that's going to really help a lot. The wood itself held up very well. Excuse me. The wood held up very well, and as you can see, the brackets held up very well. All the other bolts held up well. The brass was weak, and let's see. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of stuff in the air, I guess, and I have asthma, so apologize for the coughing. And there's the actual 1x1 that I used on the last one. So definitely some improvements are needed. That's incredible. They still held though. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the second one here. And let's bring the zoom back just a little bit. First thing I need to do is clear this area. I need to just use my handsaw. Just do a real quick cut. The only tools I really want to use, if I have to, is just maybe a little sanding and this, the cordless screwdriver. I'm not going to bore you with the minutia of watching me cut the other end, but I'll be back here as soon as I start assembling this thing together. Okay, so this is the very first time I'm getting a chance to use my Sureform tool, and so it may be a little rough at first, but it's designed to take some edges off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take to about right here. I want to keep this nice and square. So I'm just going to make a mark there. I don't want to go above that as far as that goes. I can tell from all this activity on this bench that it needs to be reinforced just a little bit. It's a little bit shaky. So that'd be an easy thing just to put some braces in. So using the Sureform tool, what my objective is I just want to take some edges off. And it's designed to really take a bunch off, actually. So it may be a little difficult for me to do this. So I can take as much off as I want. Maybe I'll just do it just to add some accents. So, just so it's not a straight square board, you know, square piece of wood. Anyway, I'm learning how to use all these hand tools. Now, that's nice and smooth, man. I like that. I'm learning how to use all these. And you can see the little wood shavings right here. Look at that. Just pulls it right out. I like it. Maybe add a little accent there. Yeah. I don't want to take a whole lot off. This is just a trial run. Not bad. It's not bad at all. So, let me go ahead and do this. I thought about all sorts of elaborate things I could do to this thing and make it look cool, but you know what? Really what matters is whether it's functional or not. So, you know me, I like to bring out the natural beauty in wood, and I've seen some people who stain, and they really, actually there's some stains out there that look really, really nice, but I'm not into any high budget stuff right this minute, so I'm going to put that right there so that it stops. Okay. So, actually, I like using this tool. If I decided to go to town, I mean, I've watched videos of furniture workers that are out there, and you know how headboards, you know, on your bed, a lot of times they have all these beautiful curves and all that. Well, they use tools like this to start to break it on down. Then they take their wood rasps and they go out and they smooth it all out, and they make some of the most beautiful contours in wood. You know, I mean, you can go ahead and do the same thing with a bandsaw, which is cool. But you know, what if you have a small project like this? I mean, I didn't really want to break out my tools today, so you know, I didn't really feel like getting really filthy dirty out here. I just felt like coming out here and puttering around a little bit and just doing this project. Okay, and I'll clean all that up with a file. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Well, let's see here. I need to give you guys just a back off a little bit, maybe. Okay. I hope that's giving you a good enough view. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. I want to make some nice short videos, and I don't want to take up all the time, you know, just showing one thing. But hopefully you can see how that Sureform tool works. Before I turn this off, let me just kind of show you a little bit. Now I can take this down as far as I want. Let's see if I can get you a good view right here. See if I can get the autofocus to go. I can take it down as far as I want, right? And maybe a router would be quicker, but I can do a lot with this, you know. And we'll see what it looks like whenever I get it all cleaned up. It's definitely smooth to the touch already right now, so I don't have to worry about that. So anyway, that's how the Sureform tool works. I could actually make a perfectly circular handle using the Sureform tool and files if I wanted to. So anyway, that's how that works, and I'll go ahead and touch base with you guys in a minute as soon as I get this handle sort of purdied up a little bit. Okay, hey, I decided to go in a different direction. I was playing with the tool a little bit, and I realized that I ain't even got to sand this thing down. I can just take my Sureform tool, I can just work the wood really lightly. It gives it this really kind of beautiful look. So I'm seeing the wood grain come out of it like that. So I'm not going to take too much off because I want the strength to stay with this if I can. So let me just work this a little bit and let you see what some of the results are. Oh, actually, I like it. Honestly, this is an extremely easy tool to use. You have what you have here. Let me see if I can make sure that you got a view of this. You buy this these serrated teeth. They're actually machine sharpened, and you just buy the insert that goes on the Sureform tool, basically. And there's a set screw right here that you just, you know, undo that and take this out and put the new one in there. So it's really cool. Very, very super sharp and easy to work with. I'm so happy. I don't have to break out the sander today, you know. Just don't feel like having to put the mask on and do all that kind of stuff. I love it. All right. So, matter of fact, this is just an example of some of the things you can do. And I'm going to take the file, the real soft file to it. Basically, just smooth it out a little bit. Work it the other way. Now I'm going with the grain. So we will see what this bad boy looks like once I put the, I think I'm just going to use lemon oil on it. Oh yeah, this is pretty. I like it. There we go. Alright, so, okay, that's all. Oh, I got one more side to do here. Believe it or not, doing woodworking sometimes is like chicken and dumplings. I don't know if you like chicken and dumplings, but the thought of eating chicken and dumplings tears me up. I'm like, oh, honey, I don't want chicken and dumplings. Guess what? As soon as I eat them, I'm like, oh, this is good. Comfort food. I like it. Well, sometimes I don't feel like coming out here. I'm tired after the week's work, you know, trying to do something all the time, make a YouTube video. You know, that is tiring. Any of the guys out there, the big boys and girls that do it, they can tell you it gets tired, especially before they went full time. So it's like that though. As soon as I get out here and start working and breaking things, I just feel better. So, oh man, I'll tell you what. Okay, I like it. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit off the end too. Let me see if I can show you. It gives it this. I just don't know. We'll see in the end. Here it is. There we go. If the video does it justice or whatever, but you can just see the areas where I've actually done. I'll clean this bad boy up. It has this grainy, rough, rustic look to it. I like that. Put a little lemon oil in that, I wonder what it would look like. Look pretty cool, probably. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next phase, finish this up, and start putting this sucker together. Okay, so here's just your garden variety file. I would say, I'd have to look in the book, but it looks to me like it could be a metal file because of the different diagonal lines crisscrossing everywhere. But there's nothing that says, that I know of, that I can't use this on wood. And so it's a little finer. And so I just want to make sure there's no splinters in the handle and that kind of thing. Also, key thing with your files, you know, they tell you, especially if you're going to spend a lot of money on files like this, that you want to use, and I use a brass brush because the wood chips, even in the big rasp, will get stuck in here, right? So I think it's Paul Sellers. I think I learned this from him on YouTube. Basically, he has some expensive ones, and you actually are supposed to store those in chalk and wrapped, you chalk them up and you wrap them in like a towel or something like that so they stay nice and dry. But at a minimum, since these are cheap files, I just take the brush when I'm done and I make sure that the wood hasn't got stuck up in there in the teeth, because the teeth, that's where they get broken and stuff. So anyway, that's a little blurb on that. So I'm not really going to, the goal here isn't to take a lot off. All I want to do is make sure that I'm not going to get any splinters. I don't even know if I use the right technique. As long as I get the result, though, that's what I care about. Especially on the end here, because I haven't done anything really to that. So first I'm going to take this file. Matter of fact, I could probably get away with not even using these and just do this by hand, actually. So just knock it off like so. And then I'm going to take this super fine file right here and go over that. I mean, if I had to do a little sanding by hand, that's cool. But this is much easier. Maybe it takes a little longer than using the sander. And there's definitely sawdust around, but it definitely isn't. It's not the same texture as when you're using your sanding machine, your belt sander, or your orbital sander, or your palm sander. So all I'm doing is knocking it off here. Real simple, nothing fancy. Okay, and then it's really important that I do this too. Now, one end of this is going to get covered up anyway with a piece of metal, but I'm not sure which end, so I'm just going to go ahead and do both. There we go, knock it down. Basically, it knocks it down the same as sandpaper would. Okay, that's pretty cool. And now, a wood rasp would definitely knock it off, but since I used a handsaw on this, I didn't get a perfectly clean cut on this end, so I'm going to... Yeah, see that smooths it out and trues it up really, really well. All right, so come on. They say there's a special way to do this, but I haven't learned it yet. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. All right, so now I'm just going to take right now there are no splinters going to get me using this fine file like this. Nice smooth edge. Just knocking off the rough stuff. All right. Okay. This is what you might call rough carpentry. Okay. Now here, I'll be quick about this. It's going to be important that I do it good. Okay. I tell you what, that's as smooth as sandpaper. Actually, I could probably get it a little smoother with the sandpaper. I would say sandpaper is probably going to be more consistent across the knots and the roughest parts of the grain. But considering what I just did with that Sureform tool and how rough it felt compared to after I get done with this file, this is what you can do with files. I did not know that I would enjoy using this knowledge. Honestly didn't. Doesn't even have to be true. Meaning the stick. It can have a little bit of a twist in it. Alright, I think that's it. I hope you can get a good look. This is using the file. This is the end using the file. I have no issues whatsoever. I don't even know if you can tell if this is true or not, but it might have a little bit of a twist in it at this point. You guys will be able to be the judge of that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and now we're going to take it to the next phase, and that is ready to attach hardware to. Okay, so I've got the handle, and this is the first improvement here. Basically what I did, and I just happen to have two of these laying around. Honestly, I can't even tell you what the heck these are used for. Maybe somebody out there knows, but all I did was take that and bend it around that. So it's there to protect the end of the pallet. I'm sorry, the handle. And it's there to take abuse, which is exactly what it's going to do. It's going to get the complete snot beat out of it. But that's alright, because that's what it's designed to do. So then this right here is the reinforced back and sides. This is where all the strength is going to come from right here. And so all that's left to do now is to put the forks on and reinforce them, and I want to try to get the best angle there, so it's going to take them a little bit to figure out exactly where I want the placement and the holes and that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and treat this whole thing and make it look pretty. So anyway, that's the first improvement, and I'll be back after a little bit. Alrighty, I'm ready to cut up my forks. I'm using 9-ply 3/4 inch plywood right here, and I got my jig set up so that I'm going to cut my first line really straight, and then I'm actually trying to decide exactly how I'm going to make these forks on my next cut. So there's a couple ideas. One Starwolf gave me, and then I'm thinking about that and how that would work. So I'll explain that here in a minute. Alright, let's see how the lighting is here. This is the end result. I do believe this is the final version of the pallet ripper. And let's see if I can give you guys some up close looks here. So the first thing I want to point out is that I'm really pleased with how this handle came out. The Sureform tool, the way that thing works is it cuts grooves into the wood and it strips it down, so it gives it this really rustic look, right? Even though I went over it with files, some of those deep grooves are still there. I mean, it's really soft, but it really comes out. I went ahead and put lemon oil into the wood just to help preserve it. And let's see, let me get back a little bit here. You can see, I hope it's focusing enough. you can see the detail. Right now it's still a little wet because I just got done coating the lemon oil. And then I went ahead down here too, you can see the lemon oil, the plywood, which is quite old, 13 to 15 years old. It's just soaking it in. This stuff's been in my garage for like 13 to 15 years. And I'd cut it down from some previous shelving and benches that I had. But anyway, this is really beautiful. So let's talk about the mechanics of it. Okay, so I made it approximately 6 inches, the handle 6 inches longer. It's still reinforced by these braces. And of course I pointed this out before, but this right here is going to be a biggie because it's going to keep that handle from splitting. Now, one of the things that happened as I was putting this together is I went ahead and put the same bolts that were in the previous tongues because they really did a good job. But this time, the last time I drilled some holes and sort of fastened those into the wood also, but I remember I had to split the tongues by my hands. I had to sort of pry them apart a little bit to make them work properly. Well, one of the things that I didn't expect here, but I'm glad it did, let's see if I can do this. You'll notice if you look in there how they didn't bite into the wood, but what they did do is they spread these tongues apart. So I like that because that's going to give me a little bit more room to get in on those skids. I do have bigger, thicker bolts right here. I've got a bigger bolt here, and of course I've got the sheet metal screws, which I want to show you. These things really bite. They hold, man. So we're looking at self-tapping screws, if that will focus in, and they are 1.5 inches, right? They're designed for metal, but I'll tell you what, just from the weaknesses that the previous pallet ripper, the second prototype I did, had shown, when you see how well everything held up, the only thing that was bent were those small screws because they were too small that were fastened into the tongues. So I know these babies are going to take a beating, right? But these are, they have a shank with the thread only cutting into about right there. The rest of that is just all shank. So anyway, this is the only bad thing. I don't have a skid to try this out on, but I seriously don't think it's going to have any issues whatsoever based on the previous model and how well it did. And this is even bigger and reinforced. I mean, I guarantee you this thing, I didn't realize I was going to be building a weapon when I built this, but you could literally club somebody with this. You know, it's weaponized, but it's only for pallets. So anyway, anybody can build this. I wanted to make a comment too. I know I said something before about people are asking me to, you know, how come I don't go ahead and try to patent it. One of the biggest reasons is it takes a long time to get these to go to market, and you have to draw up plans, and you have to actually expend resources and money to do it. And I've got other things that interest me. I'm not really concerned about that, especially since there's so much else on the market. I'm not interested in going to the Shark Tank and trying to, you know, build something like this, because they're going to want me to actually figure out how to manufacture it and be a businessman. And you know what? I'm done with that stuff. I'm just ready to have fun, go to work, come home, do my hobby, go to work, come home, do my hobby, spend time with my family. I could give a flip about all that other stuff. So anyway, thank you for looking. This is the pallet ripper. My wife wants me to call it the Terminator. I could call it the Cleminator, but I don't know. I guess people who know me would get that. Yeehaw! I love it. I love doing this stuff, and I like the way the wood looks. Well, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like, and have a creative week.